Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is now time for another rendition of Mr. Ray's and Minority Real Estate Millionaires. What is going on? Hope everybody's doing good out there today. So good to see y'all. Let's go ahead and get this party started. So today we want to be talking about how do we find wholesale deals, and then I'm going to introduce you to the concept of ARV, which is the after repair value, and MAO, which is the maximum allowable offer. So remember, this month we're just focusing on the wholesale piece of the business. In order to be able to make the quick money, you got to be able to wholesale properties, and you got to be able to find these properties that are off market, right? It's got to be off market properties. So let's get into this thing right here. So let's start with a little Rayism. You know, the Rayism, I got to put a little something in your ear today. You know, we always talk about being millionaires and what it means to be a millionaire, but, you know, money can't buy everything. Money is not the key to happiness. Money does lubricate and make life a lot easier, but money is not the most important thing. So you can have money, but there's other things that money can't buy. So let's talk about that in our Rayism today. Now, money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm talking about. Peaceful rest in your home, no drama in your home. Money can't buy that, baby. It'll buy you a big old pretty $1 million house, but it won't buy you a home. Money can buy you food, but it won't give you an appetite, baby. Huh? You can have all the latest cuisine and you can be whining and dining, but if you don't have no appetite, what good is the food? Money can buy you the best doctors in the world, but it can't buy you health. You are responsible for your health, eating right and taking care of your body. It can buy you the best doctors, but it can't buy you health. Money can buy you insurance, but it can't keep you safe, baby. It cannot keep you safe. Only trusting in him who is able will he be able to keep you safe. Money can buy you a watch. Oh, you can have the bling bling, baby, but it will not buy you more time. You've only allowed a certain amount of time, and that time is given to you by the Lord himself. And money can buy you a nice bed, but it can't buy you sleep, baby. All right, we talking about Rayism, baby. It's all right to make millions and to have a lot of money, but there's things that money can't buy, and you need to focus on those things that money can't buy. So we're going to be talking about today is how do we find real estate deals that we can wholesale? Because that's where we need to be focusing on. Wholesale deals is all this month is about. How do you get wholesale, Mr. Ray? So we're going to talk about where we find the deals, and then I'm going to introduce you to the concepts around ARV and MAO. All right. So first of all, why are we buying wholesale properties? Why are we out there trying to? Because investors, that's who we are, real estate investors, we're trying to capture what we call the value in buying properties at a discount, right? We can't make money buying properties that are on the market and being sold retail on MLS and Zillow and all that. That's not where we're going to find our wholesale deals. We got to capture the value. Investor, we can't make money buying property at retail prices. That's not where the money is made. Uh, if you're looking for a property that you want to live in, that's okay. Retail prices is okay. But when you're an investor, you need to get a deal on the properties. And so it's this whole ability to be able to capture the equity is the name of the wholesale game. You got to be able to do what we call is force the equity in the property. You have to build it up. You have to make the repairs. You got to make it worth something. You got to get that diamond in the rough, and then you got to make that diamond shine. The goal is to find the best deal And how do you find the best deals, Mr. Ray? You run them numbers, baby. You fall in love with them numbers. Do not fall in love with these houses. Only fall in love with the numbers. The numbers will make the deal, not the house. Come on, somebody. And then, there's this whole idea that you can buy foreclosed property. There's three types of foreclosed properties that we're going to be interested in buying. The first type is what I call the pre-foreclosed property. These are properties that can be purchased prior to them going to the public auction. And that's what we do. And I teach people how to do that. We go in and we find properties that are about to be foreclosed on, let's say in the next week or two, and we try to contact those owners, see if we can get them to sell their property to us for cash, and then we can turn around and sell it to somebody else. Then you can actually go to the actual auction and buy some properties. I wouldn't recommend it today because what we're seeing happen today is that a lot of people are bidding these properties up to retail value, even at the public auctions. So where there used to be a lot of opportunities where we could make money at these public auctions, it's hard anymore because a lot of people are just showing up, just paying outrageous money for these properties at public auctions. And then you can actually, let's say the property goes to the auction, the bank gets the property back. Now the bank has possession of the property. Now they can sell you the property. So you can actually go to the bank if you actually know the agent, and you can buy that property from the bank. And a lot of times the bank will use real estate agents for that, to do that. So just real quickly, are there any quick questions about foreclosed property? That's just one type of wholesale property that we're going to be looking at. Any questions? Okay, let's keep going. So there's other places that you can find real estate deals. A lot of them sometimes may not be wholesale deals, but sometimes you can find them. You can look at Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, HUD Homes, VA Homes. Sometimes you can find deals there. Sometimes they're not wholesale. You can drive the neighborhood. You can look for properties that are for sale by owner. A lot of times if the owner's trying to sell it, they're trying to save money. So you can probably get a little bit cheaper than if they were putting it on sale and were using a real estate agent. The sheriff sales, they happen every month. You can buy them there. We already talked about foreclosures. There's online auctions. There's auction.com. There's day kill auctions. There's tax lien sales. We worked the tax lien sale this year. It happened once a year for people who don't pay their taxes. For the last 3 years, the county will sell those at an auction, and sometimes you can pick up some deals there. And so what we try to do, though, is to get those properties before they go to the auction, talking to the sellers, to the homeowners, and try to get them to sell before the property gets to the tax lien sale. You can hire what we call bird dogs. And these are people that are just out there looking for houses for you, and you pay them a finder's fee if they find you a house that you eventually close on. You can look at classified ads. You can pass out flyers. Of course, you can use real estate agents. A lot of times you're not going to find good wholesale deals with them, but every now and then you can find a deal. And then you can network with other investors that are out here doing the same thing. Any questions on some of the places that we can find wholesale deals? All righty. Now, there's this one way that you can find wholesale deals, and we call it driving for dollars. That is, you're just driving around the neighborhoods and you're looking for properties that have what I call these red flags. So as you're driving around looking for properties, you're looking for properties like this. Tall grass. If it's got tall grass, they're not maintaining the property. They're probably an absentee owner. This is the type of house that we're looking for. Boarded up or broken windows, right? So if it's boarded up, the windows are falling down, it's just in disarray, that's the type of property you're looking for. That's where you find the gold. Sometimes you'll see the mailbox filled up to the brim, or you'll see newspapers that'll be in the driveway. That's a clear red flag that you might be able to call and do a deal with this owner. You might see code enforcement, some red tape or yellow code enforcement things that'll be knocked on the door. Those are sometimes some of the properties that the owner's not taking care of keeping the grass cut and things like that. And so the county will come around and they'll put a notice on the door and say, hey, if you don't clean this up, we're going to do it for you and we're going to charge you. We talked about piled up newspaper, overgrown vegetation, and just deferred maintenance in general. Those are the things that you're looking for. Any questions? If you're driving around, you see properties that have these types of issues, these are clearly the type of wholesale properties that we're looking for. So let's go back over the wholesale process a little bit at a time so I can explain it to you, and then we're going to go and we're going to talk a little bit further on some more details. So when we talk about the wholesale product, first of all, you got to find some motivated sellers. So you got to find these off-market deals, and this is the whole idea. This is the part that we call lead generations, where you're getting leads and you're trying to find people that are motivated to sell their property at a discount. Once you find these properties, let's say you're driving for dollars, or you're sending out notices, you're sending emails out, however you get them. Now you got to find out who the owners are, right? You got to do some skip tracing, and we'll show you how to do that skip tracing, but it's important to find out who the owners are so that you can start contacting them, see if they're wanting to sell their property. Once you get in contact with them, now you got to figure out how to get that property under contract, and that's where we call that the property acquisition piece of the puzzle. You got to get that property under contract. You got to talk to that owner. You got to convince them to sell that property to you at a wholesale value. And once you get that property under contract, then you got to find a cash buyer that wants to purchase that property. You can't find somebody that wants to go down to the bank and get a loan. That's not what we're doing here. These are all cash deals. Then you got to close the deal. You got to get your contract, the contract that you have with the seller of the property, the contract that you have with the buyer. You put those two contracts together, you take it to the title company so that you can do a simultaneous close on the property. And then show up for payday, baby, and get your check. That's why you're doing it. So any questions on that? Any questions on the wholesale process? All right, let's keep moving. We're going to have plenty of time to ask questions afterwards if you don't get them in during this particular part of the presentation. So lead generation, one of the best ways, and this is what, I got to back up here a little bit and talk about. Wholesaling is not easy. Let me just tell you, it's not easy to wholesale. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? But if you're willing to put the time, the effort, and learn the process, it can be very, very lucrative to you because it gives you the opportunity to make money without having to put any of your own money in the game. So one of the best ways to get leads is just when you see these properties, just walk up to the door and ask the owner, hey, you interested in selling the property, right? We call that cold calling. A lot of people don't have an appetite for that because they're scared to talk to people. One thing about wholesaling, you can't be scared to talk to people, okay? Just driving around the neighborhood looking for distressed properties. When you find one, you can just leave your card, or you can leave a door hanger, or you can leave a flyer. Let the owners know that you're interested in buying that property. You can put up signs. You see them all over town. We buy houses. We buy ugly houses. All they're trying to do is get some leads generated so they can at least get the people to call them and say, yeah, I'm interested in selling, but how much you going to give me? That's all you want to do is get them to say, yes, I'm interested. You can send out letters, postcards, send emails, text messages. The goal is just to get the owner's attention so that you can get a contract in front of them based on what you view as a discount price for that property. Okay. So lead generation is very, very important. You can also use word of mouth, families and friends. Hey, tell everybody you're in the business of buying houses at a discount. They might be able to say, hey, I saw this house down the street. It's available for sale. And you just get properties any way that you can. Now let's talk about, when we talk about lead generations, there's a few characteristics that we're really looking for when we're talking about people that are motivated sellers. Not people that just want to sell. These are people that need to sell, okay? It's very important that you don't spend your time with people that ain't really interested in selling. So what are some of the characteristics that we look for in motivated sellers? If there's been a death in the family, if the property's going through probate, or maybe the kids inherited the property, they're not interested in taking care of the property. So those are opportunities that you can come in and offer cash for the property, because in many cases, the kids, the family really doesn't even want the house anymore. When people go through divorce, a lot of times one spouse or the other is not interested in keeping the houses. They got some equity in the property they want to sell. So when people go through divorce, that's a great opportunity for you to be able to buy a property at discount. People that get into bankruptcy, they can't pay their bills, the house goes into bankruptcy, great opportunity to buy a property wholesale. When people lose their jobs, of course, they're unable to keep up with the mortgage payment. So that's an opportunity for you to come in. If they got equity in the property, that you can buy that property at a wholesale deal for cash. And then we already talked about foreclosure. Okay. So those are the characteristics that you want to look for when you're looking to buy a property at discount. And then, of course, anybody that has IRS, tax liens, got warrants, mechanic warrants, any of those type liens on property, a lot of time people will be interested in selling those properties. All right, make sure everybody's muting your phone now. I'm getting a little background there. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so once you found a property and you feel like, oh, this is a property, the weeds are growing up, mailbox running over. Now I got to find out who owns the property. Now you got to find the phone number, the email, and the mailing address. And you do that by doing skip tracing. And you say, well, what's skip tracing, Ray? Well, you can skip trace various different ways. There's ways online. There's fast people search. You can use, we use PropStream to skip search, but there's a lot of different ways, and I'll show you several ways when we get to that part of our lesson. But we won't be talking about that today. But you got to find out who the owners are so that you can call them, get in contact with them, send them an email, send them a postcard or something. Try to let them know that you're interested in purchasing this property for cash. Okay. All right. So let's assume that you got a person that's interested in selling. Now what? You skip trace them. You got their phone numbers. Da 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 da. What do you got to do now? Well, if you get them on the line, now you got to try to figure out, okay, what's the current condition of the property? First of all, make sure you're talking to the owner. A lot of times you'll be talking to someone, a brother, sister, somebody. You want to only be talking to the owner because that's who you want to do the deal with. And you want to confirm what's the condition of the property. Has it got a new roof on it? What about the bathroom, the kitchen, the tile? You want to find out, you want to confirm what's the number of bedrooms, what's the bath, does it have any mortgages on it, does it have any liens, any taxes owed? You want all that information because you're going to need all those numbers in order to plug it into your formula so you can come up with an offer that you can make to this customer, because you want to know everything about this house before you make that offer. Okay. So you got to run your comps. You got to determine what the ARV is and what the MAO is. Again, ARV being the after repair value of the property once it's been completely fixed up. You have to figure out what that is. And you do that by figuring out what the properties in that area are selling for. And we're going to be doing that exercise. Won't do it today, but I'm going to show you how to determine the ARV and the maximum allowable offer on these properties. And then set up appointment, you talking to them, you got some idea about the condition of the property. Now you got to set up an appointment so you can go out there and physically take pictures and take a look at the property for yourself so that you can make a good estimate on what the repairs are going to be needed on that property. And then once you do that, you get your offer over there to the seller and get that contract signed. Okay, that's all part of getting the property acquired. We call that property acquisition. Now that you got the property, let's say you got it under contract, now you got to find a cash buyer. Mr. Ray, where am I going to find these cash buyers at? Well, there's several ways you can find cash buyers. You can identify people that are rehabbing houses in your area. A lot of times, these are your cash buyers, people that are currently rehabbing houses. You build your buyers list. You can market your property to these cash buyers, get the contract assigned to one of these cash buyers, and get the deal closed. But the key is finding the buyers. And you can find buyers by actually just getting your property out there and marketing it. Let people know that you got a property for sale. This is the amount you got to sell. A lot of times you'll find buyers come out of the woodwork. And then you just network again with other investors like myself. All right. So any questions on that? We're ready to switch gears. Any questions on the wholesale process before we go and start talking about the ARV?
Mr. Ray, how do you propose, like, to the seller, like, how do you propose the equity to them? I really don't know how to ask the question, but like, what's the benefit of them having equity for us?
So you don't even have to pose the equity question. The question you're trying to get to them is, you want to buy that property for the least amount that you can. And when you're doing that, you're actually building the equity, right? So most of the time, when you're talking to someone, you have some idea of what that property is worth. You know what the ARV is. And so you're trying to convince them that you just want to buy that property, maybe for what they owe on it, if they got a mortgage on it, if they got any tax liens or anything like that. You're trying to buy it for the minimum amount. You don't really get into discussion with them about equity, right? Because that's your money. And if they ask you about equity, well, I got this much equity in the house, you can say, yeah, that's fine, but you don't have the money to pay to get the repairs done to get that equity out of the house. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other
So it's
questions?
really, that's how you use that for leverage,
Yeah.
because they, okay.
Yeah. You don't really want to have the equity conversation. You're having a conversation. This house needs so many repairs. I mean, it's falling down. You're trying to let them know, hey, this house is not really worth as much as you think it's worth, and here's how much it's going to cost you to get it repaired. And as you talking to them again, you want to give them a fair price, but you want to pay the least amount that you can.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? All right, so let's talk about the after repair value. What is the after repair value and why is it important? This is really the most important number besides the MAO that you need to be able to figure out. What's the property going to be worth after we get it repaired? Okay. So let's define what the after repair value is. So we say ARV, we're saying after repair value. It's the value of the property after it's been improved, renovated, or fixed up. It's after you make the repairs, what's that property going to be worth, right? It's worth a certain amount right now without the repairs. Once you make the repairs, what's it going to be worth? The ARV sometimes is called the appraised value. So you have an appraisal that's going to come out. When you buy your house, the house is always appraised by a professional appraiser. You pay them $300, $400, $500. They'll come out and they'll tell you what that property is worth. So the ARV is actually the appraised value of the property. The ARV is often called the market value of the property after it's been repaired. And so the ARV, the price is determined what are similar homes like the home that you're buying, what are similar homes in that neighborhood selling for, and we call those properties that you look at, we call those comparables or comps, right? And so what are similar properties selling for in the neighborhood? All right, so let's get your questions about ARV. Any questions on what is the ARV? Define.
I got, Mr. I got a question.
Okay.
And I don't know if you'll touch on this a little bit later, but so pretty much you're trying to do what a professional appraiser does without actually hiring a professional appraiser.
Exactly.
And I guess from your experience, having done so many deals, like, do you, especially like, you do a deal and then like you refinance it or whatnot to pull some of the money out or something like that. Do you find that you're pretty spot on, or kind of like what's been your experience to like how close you've been able to get versus, what the quote unquote professional comes in and does?
Right. Good question. Let's go to my next slide. So whenever an appraiser does an appraisal, the home that's in question is going to look different to you. It's going to be, you're going to see value in it a certain amount. The buyer of the property is going to see another value. The appraiser's going to see another value. The tax assessor sees another. Everybody's got a value of what they think this property is worth. So the appraiser, he's going to come out and a lot of times they're going to give you the bottom line dollar. It looks like you got glue on your house, sir. But you think, hey, this house is great, man. I done fixed it up, put all these repairs in it, all that. The buyer thinks it's worth a certain amount. So the goal is try to get as close as you can to what the appraiser, because that's what it's going to come down to, what the appraiser says. And so what I'm going to teach you is try to get within, if you're talking about $100,000 house, we're just trying to get within $5,000 to $10,000 of what we think that appraiser is going to appraise the property for. So when we talk about ARVs and appraisals, it's not an exact science, okay? It's not an exact science. It's really very arbitrary, because you can pick different homes for the ARV, for the appraisal, and the appraiser can come in and pick 3 or 4 different homes, right? So you try to get as close as you can, but it's an art more than it is a science. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. So as we go through our exercise next week, when I show you, we're going to actually do a home. We're going to look up the comparables. I'm going to show you why I chose certain homes, and we're going to come up with a good ARV for those properties. Any other questions? Good question, Tom. Any other questions on the ARV? This is the key number that we're going to be looking at, because it's going to determine how much we're going to be offering for these properties based on what we come up with, our assumption around ARV. So let's talk about the ARV and how do we pick our comparables. Remember, the comparables are the houses in the area that are similar to the house that we're looking at, so we can see, well, these properties sold for this much in this area, so our houses should be close to what those properties sold for. So when we look at them, we got to look at them from this standpoint. We really only want to look at properties that have sold within the last 90, really we want to say the last 30 to 90 days, but at least no further out than 120 days, okay? So you're looking for comparables that have sold recently. You want the most recent sales for your comparables. So that's number one. Number two, you're looking for properties that are within 1 to 2 mile radius of your subject house. That is the house that you're going to be appraising. And once you don't want to go outside of that, because you can get outside of that and then your ARV is not going to be looking good, because you chose a property that's 5 miles away from where your subject property is. And when an appraiser comes out there, he's going to stay really tight within that 1 to 2 mile radius, okay? And then you're looking for properties that have similar qualities, same number of baths, same number of bedrooms, garage, square footage, all that. So we're looking for properties. If my property is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, then if I'm looking at a 2-bed, 1-bath, that's not going to be a really good property for me to compare with. And let's say the square footage on my property is 1,500, but you pick a property that's only 1,000 square feet, that's not a good comparable, okay? The other thing is you want to make sure that the property has similar updates, okay? So when the property is being rehabbed, you want to look at the quality of the material and the type of material that is being used to bring that property up to snuff. Whenever we do comparables, we're assuming that we're going to take that property, rehab it all the way up to the top. We're going to put the best material. We're going to use the latest, greatest stuff to make sure that our property is going to bring top dollars. And then lastly, you want to make sure that property mimics your subject property as much as possible. Any questions on that? How do we pick the right comps? Very, very important. Again, it's an art, it's not a science.
I do have a question on this. I don't know how often this is the case, but have you run into situations where like it doesn't really fit the number of the days? I mean, I'm guessing at that point then you start looking at whatever the closest house has been. I don't know if you've run a situation where like maybe within a 1 or 2 mile radius, you haven't had a house sold within, I don't know, the last year or something like that.
Yeah, and those are harder to come up with. When there's not a lot of activity in an area, you just got to take what you got. Any other questions? Okay, and I know a lot of you have already been through this and you've already been through the ARV and you're just waiting for me to give you the homework, ain't you? You just can't wait. All right, let's see. So you got to pick the right comps when you're doing the ARV. Okay, so once you get the ARV and you know how much the property is worth, you run the comps and you know, okay, I think this property is worth $100,000. Let's just keep it that, okay? So now you got to figure out, okay, what's the maximum amount of money that I can offer on this property so that I can make money and be able to sell it to an investor, you know, who's going to buy it off of me for cash. So here's the formula. So the maximum allowable offer is the loan to value percentage, which in this case, we're going to say is 75% of the ARV, which is the after repair value. The ARV negative the cost of repairs, negative your fee is going to be the maximum allowable offer. So here's an example. Let's assume we did a house, we ran the comparables, and it was $100,000 house. We came back, 100,000. We found 4 houses sold in that area recently, same type house, $100,000. So we feel really good that once we get this house fixed up, that we can sell it to an end buyer for $100,000. The first thing you do is take 75% off of that, because that's what normally an investor or a person, a buy and hold investor like myself, we know that the bank will loan us 75% of the value of that house, right? And so that's where we have to start if we're trying to sell it. So to an investor, first thing you got to do is get him down to where he's want to be able to refinance this property. So you're going to get down from your 100,000. Now you're already down to 75K. Let's assume that you looked at the property, everything looks good, but it needs about 10,000 repair. When I say 10,000, it just needs carpet needs to replace, ceiling fans, you got to do a little tile work, maybe paint it inside and out. All it needs is some cosmetic stuff to bring it up to par. So now you got the 10,000 for repairs. Now let's say your assignment fee, and this is the fee that you get for bringing the property to the buyer. Normally we try to get at least $10,000 on each deal. So now we know it's $10,000 needed for repair. We got 10,000 our assignment fee. So here's the formula. So now we got the 75%. We take the 75K, less the 10,000 repairs, less the 10K fee. This is the maximum amount of money that we can offer for that property, $55,000. Any questions? That is your maximum allowable offer.
Mr. Whitley,
Yeah.
the MAO is the maximum allowable offer to the seller, correct?
Yes, to the person that we're buying the property from.
Okay, so
So,
I'm sorry.
yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, so this is the cap. I mean, if I can come below that, amazing.
Absolutely.
But that's the cap for me.
Yes,
You
that's
can't squeeze any more
offer.
out of me. Okay,
No,
gotcha.
because based on the repairs, based on how much money I need to make, based on them being able to refinance, an investor being able to refinance this property, this is where I need to come in at. If I can come in lower, great, but I can't come in much higher than this.
I have one more follow-up question. Do you ever deal with investors coming into a property like this and saying, okay, you're saying $10,000 worth of repairs, but I'm looking at 15. And
Absolutely.
so I want to negotiate this fee.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll negotiate. I'll say, okay, all right, well, maybe it's 15,000 in repairs. So then my maximum allowable offer, now I'm going to make less money to give to him, or I'm going to say, no, I can't do it. I think it's still 10,000. Right? So it is a negotiation at that point. You want to get your maximum. And a lot of time investors, they'll try to say, oh no, man, it's going to cost me more to get it fixed up. A lot of times you just got to stay with your number because you're comfortable. Yeah, all it takes is 10,000. But yeah, you can get into those kind of conversations because it's not a science, it's art. Good question. Any other questions on the ARV or the maximum allowable offer?
Hey, Mr. Ray.
Yeah.
If the maximum allowable offer is $55,000, how much would your initial offer to the seller be?
It'd be lower than that.
Okay.
So
is there like
I'm gonna come in and say, look, I'll offer you 45.
Okay.
And if he bites it, then that's all the better. Now I can get $20,000 maybe on my fee. Yeah, so I don't start with my maximum allowable offer, but that's where I'm going to end up at.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? All All righty. So let's see what we got next. So we talked about ARV. We talked about maximum allowable offer. So let me show you the math that goes into the ARV and the math, because there's two types of investor you're going to be selling to. You're going to be selling to a guy that's flipping houses, or you're going to be selling to a young lady that's doing buy and hold. She's doing the bird strategy, right? So let's look at the math. So let's assume that this is the ARV is 200,000 on this property. It needs 25K in repairs. We're gonna try to make 25,000 on this property. So what we do, we take our 75%, right? So our 75% of 200 gets us down to 150. Now we take our 150 and we subtract those two amounts from it. So on this particular one, this would be our buy and hold person, right? Because they want to go back in and refinance at 75%. That's what the bank will give them, 75% of that 2K. That's their refinance. So the maximum allowable offer for them is going to look like 100K, and that's going to be a good deal for them. But let me show you, the flipper looks at it a little bit different, but we come up with the same number. That's why I said you can use the same math for either one. So let's assume the flipper, he said, okay, yeah, I can flip that house for 200,000. It needs 25K in repair. You got your little 25 fee in there, but he says, I need to make my 50K in profit. I say, cool, we can do that. We can still do the deal. Now I got the 200K, that's the 25, and then the 50K profit he needs. My maximum allowable offer to that seller is going to be 100,000. Any questions? Two different ways of getting at the same number. Normally we just use this one right here, right? Because we really don't know how much the flipper really wants in profit. We can assume that's what he wants, but we know we can give him we can give him the 25% profit right here, right? So he's gonna get 25% profit, which is 50K. Any questions?
I do have a question, because I think it's kind of related to this. Well, I mean, it is related to this, because I was talking to my tax guy about potentially getting into like buying a rental property. And so when he was running the numbers, we were using 200,000. And so he kept saying that your cash flow would end up being like less than 1% when after you count like the like what the rent you would be charging the tenant.
Yeah.
Is it because that the conversation you were having, that the scenario was based on like wholesale? Because I'm trying to think, or not wholesale, like going and buying it off the MLS. Like I wasn't even taking into account any of pretty much buying it at a discount. It would just be I bought it for 200,000 and the property is worth 200,000. Was that where my first mistake was at?
I still didn't get the question in there, Thomas.
Well, I guess like he made it seem like there wasn't really a whole lot of cash flow or profit to buying a rental property, because he said after you take out like your mortgage on the property, and then also the rent.
That's a different conversation. That's not even the conversation we're having right now. We're only having conversations around wholesale properties. And what you're talking about is the actual cash flow that the end buyer, who's going to be the guy who's going to pay he's going to pay my fee for me, right? So that guy, he got to run his numbers to make sure that it cash flows.
Okay, sorry about that.
Whole different set of numbers. So next month, when we start talking about the buy and hold, then you'll see where the cash flow is the main number that you're going to be looking for when you're a buy and hold guy, right? But in these, cash flow doesn't ever come into play in this. Never part of the conversation on wholesale deals. Now, on retail deals, when you're doing the buy and hold, now the cash flow comes into it. But when you're doing the wholesale, cash flow never comes into the conversation. On either end, whether I'm talking to the person that I'm buying it from or whether I'm talking to the guy I'm trying to sell it to, cash flow never comes into the conversation. This up to the individual flipper or the guy that's going to buy and hold it, because the flipper doesn't care about the cash flow. Let's just say that right now. All he's worried about is his profit. The buy and hold guy, he has to run his own numbers to determine, you know, what his cash flow is going to be based on him buying that property for $100,000 and putting $25K in repairs. Can he go to the bank, get his money back out? Can he pay the maintenance? Can he pay the taxes, insurance, all that? That's on him. That's a different conversation I never have with him. Not when I'm wholesaling property. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop share right here.
Mr. Ray, I have one question.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, I was reading something. Are you aware that in Oklahoma they're about to start making it illegal to start wholesaling starting in November, I believe it is?
Yes, sir. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
So it's not going to be legal from the standpoint of there's two ways. Well, I don't even know if I want to get in there, but let's just say there's 2 or 3 ways that you can get around it. Number one is that you can actually have the cash to buy the property. Let's say I'm buying the property for 30, but I want to sell it for 50. Well, I got to have the 30 to buy it, right? I can do that all,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So that's one way that I can still do wholesaling. The other way is that I think the law says that you got to have a broker or a real estate agent involved. Well, I have a real estate agent that lives in the house with me, my wife, so I can still do the deal through her. The other thing is it says that you can't market the property. So I can't go out and put it on eBay or wherever they're marketing properties if I'm not an agent, right? So there's still ways that we're going to be able to market properties and be able to do wholesale deals. But the true wholesale in the sense of that you don't have any money in the game and you don't have to be a real estate agent, all those things are changing. You're going to either have to have the money to close the deal, or you're going to have a real estate agent to help you in the deal, or you're not going to be, again, then you won't be able to advertise for the property. So the law is changing, and we're going to be teaching what you can do as a wholesaler now that the law has changed. But the law changes in November, you're right. But there's a lot of states that basically outlaw that you cannot do wholesale deals, period, right? There's some states that are like that. Oklahoma's not like that. They are putting some stringent rules on it, but you can still do it if you have the money to close the deal or you're working with a real estate agent. But up till November, it's fair game, baby. Make as much money as you can. Legal.
Gotcha.
All right, what other questions y'all got? Where we at? We got about 10 more minutes. I was gonna show you a couple of projects I'm working on, but I want to answer your questions first of all.
Mr. Ray, this is Christina.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is better for you or for Lila, but are real estate agents allowed to do wholesale deals?
Tiffany, you want to take a stab at that? Tiffany is an agent. Are you allowed to do wholesale deals?
Yes, at my brokerage, we are allowed to do it. And our broker, because I work for a flat fee broker, And so she allows us to do wholesale deals and anything that we collect on wholesale deals, as long as we are upfront about what we're doing, then yes, she allows us to do them.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, the reason I didn't have Lila answer it because she stepped away, went to go get my chicken. What did it work, baby? What other questions y'all got?
Ray, I do have a question. In this market, because it's so crazy right now, when you are marketing to your wholesaler, trying to find the wholesale deals, what do you find, what method do you find is most successful for you? Is it the direct mailing, or is it the phone calls, cold calling, that type of thing? What would you say is your most beneficial way of doing it?
For me, it's the telephone calls. So I'm using PropStream to do all my skip tracing. So I'm finding the telephone numbers. I'm also finding emails. I'm texting them. Again, as I'm driving around the neighborhood, since I have the mobile app, I can also always find properties that way. If I see something that looks like it might be available for me to sell, excuse me, for me to buy, then I will right there on the scene, look that property up, skip trace it, try to call the owner as I'm sitting right there in front of the property. But the best way for me that I found is just working the phone, sending out emails, sending out texts. And like I said, it's hard. It's hard to get these deals. And they're just not falling in your lap. You have to really get out there and chase it. This is hard work. Of course, Tiffany, I know you know that. So what have you found, Tiff? What's your best way?
Well, I've been trying to think of some new strategies and approaching people in different ways, kind of thinking of going after the probate area, because I am a realtor, so I can always offer them more than one solution.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that, but I'm just finding that the whole cold calling, personal relationships, yes, are getting me in with the cold calling for sure. But I find that a lot of people, when I'm cold calling, they're not very receptive to the calls. And I use the mobile app as well. Matter of fact, I've kind of set a little goal for myself. I drive around every morning and find at least 10 houses. Sometimes, when you start looking, you find more than 10.
Yeah.
And then, skip trace them and do everything that day. Send out, postcards or what have you. And I've gotten some people that have called back,
Right.
but I was just wondering, like, that cold calling, I don't know that it's working right now for me.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's this whole wholesaling business is a tough business. I mean, you're gonna fail on 99% of the people that you contact, but it's just that one person is all it's gonna take for you to get a good deal. But you got to go through so many different people before you get to that one. And those of you all that's in the platinum group that's been with me, and we were calling those tax lien lists, I bet we call hundreds and hundreds of people. And out of that, I think we only got 2 deals. I got 2 deals out of all that work we done. So it's a hit and miss. It's a tough business, but it can be very lucrative if you can get your process down. The people that are really successful in wholesale, they spend a lot of money marketing. That means they mass mail, they send out a bunch of postcards. I mean, they're sending, 10,000 emails and 10,000 mail pieces out to get 4 or 5 people to call them back. It's very, very labor intensive. It's very, very cost intensive to get these wholesale deals. It is hard work. Any other questions?
Hey, Mr. Ray, you was talking about the wholesaling through the brokers. Would you be open to that if there was a realtor and a broker that was, they might have found a property? Would you be open to having a conversation with them?
Yeah, I would be. But
Okay.
again, now you're talking about realtors involved. Now you got 3% that you got to add into your calculation, 3% of the ARV, because That's what the realtors are going to get. I mean, if you got two realtors, now you're talking 6%. So now, you know, your numbers change when you get realtors involved.
So last question to that. So would you just go directly, I'm just hypothetically go directly to the banker that reached out to you?
So tell me your scenario. I don't understand your scenario.
So the banker has an investor that's looking to potentially offload some properties.
Okay.
There is a realtor that wants to get involved in the deal. But what I'm hearing you say is it might be better just to just have a discussion with the banker first,
Yeah.
without including the realtor to actually make a profit,
Yeah.
potential profit.
Yeah, because the realtor is going to add costs. I mean, they want to get paid for their services. And so if you can deal directly with the owner or you can deal directly with the bank, that's the way to do the wholesale deal.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. All right. We'll have more time for more questions right now. I'm going to show you one property. Let's see here that I recently, this is a property that I'm recently rehabbing. So let me see if we can get it open here. Hold on. So this property here, you can see the guys cutting the yard. I evicted this tenant. This is my property. It's a duplex, 3-bed, 2-bath. The tenant had been living there for like 4 or 5 years. You can see he's not getting his deposit back, right? Because he left everything in a rough. In fact, like I said, I had to evict him. And so this is the condition that he left the property in. So you guys seeing the video?
Yes, sir.
So I bought this property probably about 6 years ago. I rehabbed it back then, 6 years ago. Put the tile in, put the flooring in, re-roofed it, all new appliances. He left a big hole over there for me to fix. I mean, it wasn't in horrible shape, but if I just cleaned it up and we're just going to put it back on the market, I probably could have done it for $5,000. But I really need to go ahead and just totally rehab this property. So I'm going to show you what it looks like after I rehab it. I put $15,000 in it to rehab it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like after I got it done. So it's upstairs, downstairs, 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 baths upstairs, half bath was downstairs. You saw that half bath downstairs. The floors were still in pretty good place. This is a laminate floor that I had put in when I bought it back 5 or 6 years ago. Again, 3 bedrooms. We had to totally repaint everything, put in new ceiling fans, change all the knobs on the doors, fix the cracked windows. Let's see, what else did we do? Redid the bathrooms, new tile as far as the bathrooms were concerned. So all this was torn out. And the floors were good. We didn't redo the floors, but we did redo all the counters. Went in and redid this bathroom, this bathtub. And you'll see here in a minute, everything turned out pretty good. So I was able to clean the floor up, didn't have to change the floor. All the mini blinds will be changed. This is the master bedroom here. I don't know what he had there on the deal, but anyway, all this stuff needs to be redone. The bathroom, all that's going to have to be refinished. And new toilets. Again, I redid everything, but all I did was clean the floors. Everything else was good in the property. This property was leasing for $1,100 a month. Okay, so I was leasing it for $1,100 a month. The guy had been there like about 3 years. Fell on hard times. Had to let him go. Okay, so now what I want to do is show you what it looks like now. Now I'm just going to show you. I don't have a video, but I'll show you the pictures. So this is the outside. I had to put all new siding and had it repainted on the outside. So again, it's a duplex. This is just one side. I own the other side also. Hold on, let me. Let me get to my slideshow here. Sorry about that. Let me back up. Try it one more time. Let's go from the bottom. I think I can do better from the bottom. All right, yeah, here we go. So that's one bedroom. You can see I basically painted everything white, put in a new ceiling fan, and new window dressing. Those are just mini blinds. So that's what the bathroom looks like now. Let me go in a little bit. So I put in new countertops, basically the same cabinets, but I did put new handles on them, new toilet, new handles on everything in there. I didn't mean to turn that upside down, but here we go. Some reason I know what I need to do. Let me do this differently because it won't let me advance it without doing this. So let's just do this. I'm just going to have to go through them without resizing them. Okay. So that's another bedroom. That's the one bath that I showed you upstairs. You see, I put in granite countertops with a little backsplash. Again, repainted the whole house. That's the master bathroom that we redid. Hadn't redone the bath here yet. What I did, I had a guy come in and refinish this bath at a cost of about $600. Rather than replacing it, he put a nice new finish on it. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. This is the kitchen, new countertops. I did the new bar area, put new countertops on that. That's the kitchen. As you can see, left the same floors, but just repainted everything, put new handles on everything, new backsplash. And that's what it looks like. Put new carpet on the stairwells going up, and just again painted everything white. It's kind of what the new style is. Everything is white. So after I got done redoing this property, I was able to raise the rent up to $1,400. So I was leasing that property for $1,100. After I rehabbed it at a cost of $15,000, then I'll raise the rent to $1,400 a month on that property. Any questions? All right, about ready to wrap this thing up. Any final questions before we end today? So next week, we're gonna go hard and heavy. We're gonna teach you how to do an ARV. We're gonna do the comparables, teach you how to figure out what the maximum allowable offer is, and then we're gonna do some homework next week. I'm gonna teach you how to do it, then I'm gonna let you go do it. All right? All right, it's time to go. It's 8:06. Hope y'all have a great day. If anybody wants a copy of this video, please send me a text. I'll send it to you so you can go back and review it anytime you want to. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you again on next Thursday.